That's the process. And so, if there are people that are interested in serving on the board, I think I read from one of your notes that, you can apply online to be on kind of, wherever you need me type thing. You don't have to apply to a particular board.
So for the application, all of the city's boards and commissions are listed, and you can rank, number one that you want to be on, number two, number three. And if there aren't openings in your number one, we can approach you for have only one interest, in the application stays on file, and whenever there's a vacancy, and the city administrator and mayor's assistant will go there first.
So it's okay for people to apply even though there's not a vacancy, and their names will stay in the. And that wouldn't necessarily speed up the process though, right? Because it's still, when you and I were talking, when, at this time, when there's a vacancy, somebody, I assume the mayor, just announces, or maybe the chair announces that there's a vacancy. But there is no deadline, it hasn't been up to now, a deadline for filing an application. But I suppose if you had a queue, I mean, if you had a list of 5 people who wanted to be on the board, there was a vacancy, would you still have to advertise that there's a vacancy?
It'll be good for us to do that. I don't think it's like a hard fast rule, but it would be a good practice. So.
I used to work in personnel, you know, and you put out a job announcement, get applications, and fill the vacancy, and the next month, somebody else would retire, you know, or move. And you'd say, well, do we have to go through the recruitment process all over again? Or can we take from the candidates that were there before? And many times, we were permitted to take from the list of candidates that had previously applied, as long as they were qualified and, you know, still were interested.
I'm not sure of the exact process, if it's a requirement for us to put it out. I just think personally, it would be good for us to put it out to the community. That it's not only people who heard about it at one point, there could be new people that moved that are really passionate about it that wouldn't know. But
how is it advertised?
only on social media and through Tumwater on Tap, is my guess.
I've looked at Tumwater on Tap. That's called. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, that's the email that they send out. It's not monthly, is it, or is it? I haven't seen it in a while. Must have gotten redirected to my junk mail.
Tree board's gonna shine in it next month, the first month, so.
Spam.
Mark it as not junk.
We've also had a couple articles written about, our meetings on Jolt.
Would you all like me to send those when they come out?
Yeah.
Okay, it's almost always like 2 days after the meeting. They seem to cover it pretty frequently. But, yeah, I should start doing that. I think Mike might be on vacation. Let me just.
Did you let Brad graduate from this committee?
Oh, he graduated after I was here for less than a month.
He was on these other community forums for a different role.
And he's got to be, is he in bed on the meeting?
Yes, so he's the project manager for all of the tree-related planning code projects. So he's the PM, but I'm there with him as the tree board.
Good matcher. He knows all the history.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't have confidence, I just noticed this is the first time he hasn't been here for one of our activities.
Yeah, he,
Well, he was only at the last one, because it was
so when he's updating
I
all
didn't
those
put
3
two
sections
and
of
two
code.
together. I'm admitting I'm late.
Again, Mike is not around, he's gonna be out of state right now, so he won't have every member of the tree board present. And Tanya, I saw you sign in as me, so I assumed it was you, and, do you wanna unmute just to make sure that that works? Your hand is raised, and you're unmuted, so you should be able to talk, but we don't quite hear you.
I didn't remember, or I didn't see, a note to tell you that we were gonna be here. Was that?
Oh, I didn't send a, tell me if you're gonna be here this time.
I just want to, question. Might be useful.
So Tanya, the volume's all the way up, but we can't hear you. Are you maybe muted on your phone and not on Zoom?
Do you type anything in chat?
Raise your hand.
We set the webinars up with no chat.
There goes
That
half the
Help us
call.
right now.
The microphone's not off.
Yeah, it shows that she's not muted, but
Probably like, every time, like, do like Google Meet and Zoom and Teams, yeah.
You gotta
And
do
it's
it all.
like every other time, any time I get a new one, I've gotta like go through.
They're all
and do my
different.
Speakers, and, yeah. Just like 2 years ago, none of us used any.
I know. Every once in a while it's Skype, but that was like really special occasion.
What we had in Mongolia.
Yeah.
It was a little expensive.
I'm sorry, Tanya, I think that your audio might be you. Feel free to, if you wanna sign off and sign back on, maybe that'll fix it, but I can't hear you.
Oh, God, such a great record. You've had it for years.
Well, maybe, yeah, probably.
Remember, we had so many canceled meetings last time I was on there.
Well, there was a time there,
I canceled that.
that we had
Problems getting enough people.
I joined, there were several months of these.
Or that too, yeah. There was a time we either couldn't meet quorum or there just wasn't anything to do.
I was looking at it.
I mean,
5,000 sheets of paper later.
yeah, sorry. Tanya says she doesn't have a microphone on her computer, she's gonna.
Okay.
That's funny, isn't it?
Well, should we call the meeting to order of the Tumwater Tree Board, Monday, March 13th, 2023? Roll call, I guess we'll just, I'm here, Trent. Brett is here. And Tanya. Used. Changes to the agenda tonight? Did everybody get a chance to read the meeting minutes from February 13th?
Did they be accepted as presented?
Okay.
We all have a job here.
Moved and seconded. All right, those all in favor of approving the meeting minutes from February 13th, 2023, say aye.
Aye.
Tanya, on the phone?
On her iPad, but
Okay, well, always ask her if she has an issue with it. The only thing I saw with the meeting minutes is that Red Cedar was misspelled.
wasn't meant to be spelled.
Well, it's 2 words,
Is it?
and it should be capitalized, but,
I read a book that said that it was one word.
oh,
So that's-
oh,
That's what I'll change it to.
I don't know, I've always do it too, yeah. I mean, it's a common name, but, right. Okay, tree board member reports, anybody have anything they wanna report? Go for it, Jim.
Thank you. Last month I met with Kiana Sinner with the Thurston Conservation District, to talk about, to learn about what they did. And she reminded me that they have an annual native plant sale, the first Saturday of every March. As well as they have a online purchase of native plants. They have about 70 plants that they sell as bare roots or as plugs. And I went to the sale and I was shocked. It was in Thurston County, got there about 11:30. The parking lot was full. The
Next year,
queue,
don't order online. I learned my first year too.
the queue in the building was serpentine and out the door. Hundreds of people were there to buy trees. And we have a hard time giving away
Same trees.
the same trees to 50 people. And I thought, what, and for free. And I thought, wow, first of all, I was impressed that there was that much interest in native plants. And secondly, I was surprised that, at the variety of stuff they were selling, you know, quite a lot of it. And I'd been to Barton Garden and I'd asked if they had any tayberry, and they said, we don't, but ask the Conservation District if they do. I was surprised that the nurseries were referring me to the Conservation District. So, I'm curious as to where do they get their stock?
They grow them.
Okay.
They grow them each year. It's something that most of the conservation.
Well, she told me they didn't have a nursery, but, oh, they have a cooperative one up in Bow, up in Skagit County. That does it for the state or something like that. But, then she gave me a list of, an interesting resource of nurseries and organizations in Washington State that sell native plants and seeds, and organizations, dedicated, native plant dedicated resources. So I thought that was just something of interest for us. It included, seasonal native plant sales. There are 6, we're not on the list.
Oh.
We don't sell them.
I wonder if we could be added to that even if we're not.
Yeah, that may be a way that we could just ask Thurston County, to add us to their list, but, several organizations, Native Plant Society and the Master Gardener Foundation, have 2 sales, one in the spring and one in the fall. I'm sorry, Native Plant Salvage Foundation and the Native Plant Society have 2 sales. So there's a resource, and, maybe we shouldn't feel bad that we only have 50 people come. If there are hundreds of people going to these other sales and buying their own, you know, what they want. So maybe there isn't a big need for free trees to be given away if there are all of these other resources, many of them in this county, for getting trees at cheap. So I just thought, that was interesting for the board to know, and I talked to them about whether there'd be anyone in their network that would be interested in serving on the tree board, and they passed that information on, and I don't think we didn't get any applications for people from it, in their network, which is mostly agricultural. They're very similar, in my opinion, to the Extension Service. They were founded, though, in the 30s by FDR, with the Soil Conservation Service, and the shoulder belt program that happened in the Midwest during the Dust Bowl days. So, came out of that, but they do how to grow sheep and related to agriculture. But I don't know if every county, country has got one of these organizations that does.
I attended the National Wildlife Federation's Habitat Steward training, and most of our presentations were done by conservation districts, and they did describe it as something that was, I know that, in Broward County where I lived, before I moved here, we had one. election, but they didn't really do it
In Florida.
in Florida,
Yeah.
but they're much more active out here.
Very active in the Midwest, right?
Yes, yeah, I was in Iowa.
So they had a plant list available?
They do,
Do they have them for other counties, like Eastern Washington, or?
I don't know that. I assume they do, because they have one person who, Kiana, has this as one of her major responsibilities, annual plant sales.
So I'd be interested if we want to have a greater diversity of plants to give away on Arbor Day, that this is a source that we could really expand our diversity of native trees and shrubs. And the timing is perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be potted up, but
Their sale is the 1st of March, but we could buy 100 and put them, I could put them in pots. I've got 101-gallon pots in my backyard.
but I would recommend ordering them online in the fall. That's what I do for me personally. And then you don't have to wait in line. They're prepackaged.
What did you do with yours?
I pot them in the gallon pots. I just potted up 20 tonight before I came,
Okay,
out of my 300 that I bought.
wow. Okay, well, but what are you gonna do with 300 plants?
Starting a native garden in my retirement property.
I see. Great. They have kinnikinnick and,
The trees this big.
you know,
Oh, that's a great resource.
They have shrubs and.
twinberry.
Yeah.
The only
Ground
tree
cover.
actually that they sell is madrone. I think madrone.
Gotta buy 10 of those, and one of them.
And, yeah,
Well, they have smaller trees, like I got vine maple and Pacific dogwood.
oh, vine maple, you're right.
I don't know if you count red currant as a tree.
Yeah, they list it as a shrub,
Yeah,
vine
that
maple.
makes
So.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
they have
wonderful research, very
low,
wonderful.
medium, and tall Oregon grape.
Yeah.
The 3 varieties of Oregon grape that are native here.
Amazing. What'd you say, 70 different?
I think it's about 70, yeah, 19 shrubs, 8 bare root trees. Oh, that cascara, I'm sorry, crabapple, the same crabapple we're selling, or giving away, I guess. Pine maple, red alder, black hawthorn, Pacific dogwood, willow, and Pacific willow, which are illegal to grow in. Right, we wouldn't let people grow willow.
Well, it's not illegal, it's, it would only be recommended in.
That's one report. The other comment I have is I appreciated Alyssa sending this out to us, this report from the Climate Action Steering Committee, and I reviewed it. I was surprised how often tumwater was mentioned, as well as urban forestry. And I was wondering if we could invite, are you on this?
So I'm not on the steering committee, that's our elected officials, but I am on the, multi-jurisdictional staff team, my person staff. That plan.
Well, I'm just wondering if someone could come to, maybe you, at one of our meetings, it could be an agenda item that we could talk about what this says and how that applies to the Tumwater Tree Board.
Within our contract with TRPC for them to come give presentations, and we hardly ever use that, so
TRPC.
the Thurston Regional Planning Council.
It was, in one sense, it's a very depressing document, because they just out and out say, here's the goal, and we don't see any way that we can achieve it by 2050.
So there's some background to that. That goal, in the development of the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan, and I wasn't here for it, so this is what I've heard.
Before you,
It was before I came. It was adopted just before COVID. There were a year and a half, close to 2 years of stakeholder engagement to determine all the actions that would be in the plan. They then did a wedge analysis, so they did a greenhouse gas inventory to see, okay, how much are we emitting? How much do we need to reduce to get to these goals? And the goals are what all the different jurisdictions would agree to. They're not science-based targets at this point. They should be higher, but that's what everyone agreed to.
well,
Um,
that's interesting.
It's changed, it was also 2021, it's years happened, and greenhouse gas emissions just keep skewing. But, they did a wedge analysis of all of the building, transportation, waste, and water cross-cutting actions that they, that were highly ranked. After everyone pulled them all together, there was a ranking process, whatever ended up in the plan. they did a wedge, determining exactly how much we estimate those actions will reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, and what was left was slapped onto, agriculture, prairie, and forest, assuming that it would make up. And that was, that part, when it was slapped onto that, was not, a wedge was not done for that. It was a hopeful, we hope that this can fill it in. And that white paper shows that we need some additional steps to actually meet those goals, that we can't feasibly approach that level of sequestration, which means that we can't achieve these goals with the tasks, the actions that are listed out in the plan. We need more.
The plan says, plan we have will not get us to the goals we've agreed to.
Because of, that being kind of a hand waving thing, forests and trees will take care of it for us. Upon further investigation, that's not feasible, and we need to make up the difference. Which we have a process that we're in. There's a whole big thing with the Thurston Regional Climate Action Plan. It was put together, with the assumption that there wouldn't be staff, and now almost every jurisdiction has full-time staff. So we've kind of changed the implementation structure over the past 6 months or so. And part of that includes now, kind of it's 100% official, yet we're still in flux, but, determining when we will be revising the plan, and revising the plan will need to include adding in some other actions that were community supported to help us reach those goals, now that we know that finishing it up with agriculture and forest. However, there's like blue carbon and other kinds of carbon sequestration strategies that were outlined in there. We don't truly know how much our Puget Sound prairie is sequestered carbon at this point. There's not a lot of science on it, so it could be that those could, but we just don't have the data to really show that now. Along.
No, thank you. That's much more than is what's in here.
My time is split between our plan and that.
Yeah. There's a reference here, for example, to, bush, prairie, tumwater. Conservation and restoration also will be included in the bush prairie habitat conservation plan under development for land within the tumwater urban growth area. Specific reference to us.
That's kind of that forest meets prairie kind of block that we were talking about the last meeting.
It also, there's a reference here that this plan assumes an approach that includes planting trees on large areas of urban open space. Us, you know, so yes, we have a canopy goals, which I think they're saying any way you can increase those is gonna help. But an out and out, if you've got open land, plant trees.
Stormwater.
Exactly, and that's mentioned in
I
here,
have our
using stormwater areas as places.
So this has been doing good research on
They're gonna
potential
come,
planting places.
Yeah,
the stormwater, lead is going to come to our May meeting, for, restoration. Lead in my department too, to talk about, path forward using stormwater.
Could they bring maps of potential planting spaces? Make it more tangible.
I think, I mean, if we're gonna plant, storm, I mean, it's gotta be part of the code. I think now, currently, you can get away with just seeding it, planting it, and nobody's gonna plant it, 'cause it's
Issue is the lined ponds, which I've brought
Yeah.
up before. So, all the locations that I went to with our stormwater lead, because ecology's best management practices for these features does not include trees, we can't go outside what ecology will approve for the space, but there are spaces around the ponds that we're eyeing for planting, or there's an overflow structure that has never gotten water and it's not lined, that we're looking at. Three particular locations that it won't disrupt the engineered structure. They're not necessarily in the pond.
But, I mean, still it's trees.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder, I mean, it seems like, I don't see a lot of lined ponds anymore.
Apparently a lot of ours are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
a
mean,
lot of
there's a
pushback
lot of
every time I bring it
existing
up.
ones that are, I don't see that design that way.
Depending on what ecology has.
Yeah, I know, you can't plant them on like a bank. barrier in between. So I can't plant anything. I don't want anything. I think that. Yeah, it's tricky, but I mean, you could plant shrubs around it.
Yeah.
We've got three locations in mind, one of them here,
Nice.
so I think.
I'm thinking of, when you say open space, I was just thinking like for Black Hills High School. You know, like all schools, I think, you know, it's got this big open field in front of it, which looks nice. And the way, you know, you build schools, obviously, you're not gonna plant trees on the football field or the baseball field, but there's, sometimes we build these big buildings and then put beautiful lawns in front of them. And those could hold a couple acre trees, if we got used to that. Another, we talked about, which would require code changes, is doubling the islands and parking lots. Oh, I'm a dog lover, my dog goes everywhere with me, and I'm always looking for trees to park under. And I think, you know, those are I see that in Fred Meyer, everybody parks under the trees.
Oh, yeah.
Let's, I don't know if we have to expand the parking lots, but let's increase in Tumwater the number of trees we have in our parking lots. I think it'll be a win for the shoppers and a win for the environment.
Now's the prime time, because we're working on code revision. If we don't do it now, the shade is our window.
Yeah.
Like, there's places in California, shade requirements where you have to plant a large tree that it covers so much of the parking island, and that increases.
So you have the summer shade, but not the winter issues.
So, you know, places. Or even Arizona, I mean, they don't have hardly any trees in that park.
Weird, because it's so hot there.
Yeah.
And if
There's
there's
like one, you know, huge giant parking lot with 4 trees in it. Everybody's parked right around those trees.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah.
Good time, in the near future to work on I'm not sure if that would be in the parking code or if that would be something that is covered by landscape. I don't think it's covered in the landscape code, but I'm not quite sure.
The landscape code is not very strict.
I want to, we have to update our, code for the new EV, charging and EV capable, requirements from the state, so that's coming up in the next few months.
Well, it could be.
I'll do some research to see if it's
Thank you.
I have a brief information to share. So this is tangential, but the Capitol campus is now an internationally accredited arboretum. So there'll be additional educational opportunities for this community.
Any thought that they might plant more trees on the Capitol?
Well, certainly. Yeah, one of the goals is to have every type of tree that will grow in Olympia represented. So that's about 100 different genera. Yeah, we have about 75 now, so.
Isn't Medford or every state tree growing on?
Oh, that'd be cool. That's a good claim to fame.
Yeah, but I don't think we can do that, but.
state tree.
Yeah. In Medford, Oregon.
Unless the windmill palm is the state tree of Hawaii.
Well, I think it may grow there.
We do have, that's the only palm that
Yeah,
will actually
it's
grow
a
here.
palm, so.
Is it
Yeah.
Hawaii?
That might not work.
Anyway, there's other communities that are working for outreach and education and promoting, thriving urban force. Cool.
Lena sent me an email, I think that's how she's gonna.
Okay.
Because she's still having an issue with the,
Oh, shoot.
she says, asked if we're going to be posting the, Arbor Day event on Facebook to help get the word out, and I just wanted to mention verbally to everybody, yes. Well, other means.
Oh, you should maybe look at the conservation district.
Very active Instagram.
Yeah.
They have a really great website as well, so.
Oh, that's it, huh?
growing in Salem, Oregon.
Right, maybe not. It's probably the saddest tree out there. Maybe it's just barely hanging alive.
There is kind of concern.
Okay, were you done, Jim?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I don't have anything, so,
The coordinators report?
Carbon sequestration paper. That's you all, there's a good appendix as well, and I will reach out to TRPC to have them. I got 2 cards for Jensen's retirement, nettles or trees and mushrooms, whichever one you all decide is the best one, I'll keep the other. But the card is here to sign whichever one. The nettles, I guess it might even be dandelion, sorry. Wishing you all the best, and then the tree, sort of pine and some mushrooms, thanks for everything. It's blank on the inside, so which one you all prefer.
do the trees. Yeah,
I figured the tree.
Yeah.
Have that available, yeah. Pass it around. There were 2 vacancies on the board. Myself, Trent, and the mayor met with 2 folks, and the mayor has moved along a recommendation for both of them to be board members. Sorry, I just have a stick.
And I'm not her supervisor, so I can actually have conversations with her.
They were both very, like, interested. One is pretty highly qualified person, but he's a young guy, and, he seemed pretty excited about it.
You did good.
They're both young folks.
Yeah.
And Hannah, I'm excited for her maintenance background. Tree and vegetation preservation ordinance, Brad and I received the draft. We get comments back. We're waiting on the second draft. I'm pretty sure that the second draft will come to you all next month. Landscape, the first meeting, stakeholder meeting is tonight. I don't think we're gonna have other conflicting meetings, hopefully not. It was, interesting to get Zoom set up for this because of that at the same time, so we're gonna try to avoid having them double booked. There was a street tree, plan and ordinance meeting, public meeting on the 27th. Brent was one of 2 members of the public who were present. Thank you. There's another one next Monday. Plants have been ordered for Arbor Day. Today I was drafting a proposal for, Department of Natural Resources, Urban and Community Forestry grant. He released it a few days ago, and it's due at the end of the month, so I didn't have enough time to formalize the proposal, bring it to you all. But what I'm writing it for is some tasks in the urban forestry management plan that are past due, specifically an inventory of city-owned properties, which I'm looking at specifically parks, buildings, and stormwater. I have a coworker who also wants me to include the inventory for wetlands if we can, and other critical areas. If we can do that within the budget, that's great. If we can't, that's getting cut out. But that would be an in-depth inventory that would result in a story map about those features, those trees, an eye-tree analysis of those trees on buildings and parks, and also a report that looks at deferred maintenance and creates a 4-year rotating plan for maintenance and the estimated costs for that. Fingers crossed that we can do that within the budget. The maximum award is $40,000 because we have, one of our census tracts is high environmental health disparity score. We have a 50% match instead of a 100% match. So it would be a $60,000 total maximum project, hoping that we can do that within the budget. We'll see. I'm working on that proposal. Again, sorry, I can't bring the full proposal. I literally wrote it this morning.
That match coming out of the tree fund?
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
We will have to get city council okay to use the funds for that, and it's kind of, I feel like we could interpret the tree fund account use to be for that match, and I'm working in close coordination with the gentleman who's going to be leading most of the volunteer plantings to make sure that we have enough money for the plantings that he has planned for the year, of which there's 3, and also the match if we get it.
I'm just sorry. When we do the volunteer planting, event.
Yeah, we can put out a press release, if they show up,
I'm
they
thinking
show up.
like our plant, the Arbor Day planting the tree. Having the mayor plant a tree. Thinking, you know, if we've already got all these people gathered and we're, that stuff. Do it in a way that, a media event.
Essentially, I personally, in the past, with planting events, have tried to keep it to no more than 30 to 50 volunteers, because I can't manage more,
Oh, for
and not
sure.
everyone knows how to
Yeah.
plant.
I don't care if there's 5, you know, but just making it say, oh, well, as part of this planting, we're going to plant a memorial tree, or a commemorative tree, or a something tree, and take a picture, and, I don't know, maybe make it a, heritage tree or whatever.
We can definitely put out press releases about the plantings. The one that's coming up soon, which, apparently mostly just the neighbors have been invited, is the wetland planting. It's just willow stakes. It's not very exciting, but it's like 1,000 willow stakes.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, the Palermo wetlands. We had to do some maintenance cleared out a lot of plants. Now we're doing restoration. It's a very active beaver site, so we're doing some experiments with giving offerings to the beavers to see if that makes it so they won't eat everything we plant. And it'll be a multi-year successional planting. That, I think, is going to be on the 24th of 24th to 25th, this Saturday after St. Patrick's, 2 Saturdays after St. Patrick's Day. That it'll be small, that's like dipping our toes in the water of doing volunteer planting, and then we'll do bigger and greater ones after that.
And the volunteers are,
The neighbors.
That's awesome. Yeah, I gotta get a lot of coverage on that.
Yeah, there had been a problem with illegal dumping in that site, that's why we had to clean it up, so we're hoping that by involving the residents who were having that issue, now that there's signs and boulders so no one can dump, thank you.
Where is that at?
It's, Palermo, it's,
Can you show us on Google? Can you get Google?
I can try. Will I find that, I already said mail, bring in the stormwater folks, so that was it for my update. Palermo, one of our water facilities.
Oh, yeah. What's Tumwater doing to replace all the trees that DOT cut down at the interchange?
They're replanting it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're putting a new road in right there.
Yeah. Wasn't that part of the roundabout project?
Yeah.
The wetland is around here.
Oh, okay.
So this, is one of our water locations. You may be familiar with it for being a Superfund site that's in remediation. Okay, don't worry. But, the wetland adjacent to it,
Oak Street?
Oak Street and Palermo,
Oh, the Palermo, there's a pocket park right there, that's part of,
water facility.
hard to see those trees.
oh, that's down, okay, down
Oh,
in the
Blue
valley, yeah, oh,
Yeah.
sure, I've been down there. Little basketball court. or-
And also, there's a little dump for stuff up there.
I realize
So
I'm
far.
sharing my screen.
Broncos.
I'll zoom back in.
Hopefully it got included as part of cleaning up that.
So,
Right around here, Tanya.
Yeah, the one shrub that was still alive.
There's wetlands here.
okay, yeah, oh, yeah.
So, I'll be touching base with my, coworker tomorrow who's leading that. He has been out sick, past week or so, so hopefully the dates are still as,
What's growing there now? I mean, it looks green.
it's been cleared. Parts of it have been cleared.
Will there be water during the summer, or we're just gonna see
Oh,
what
it-
survives?
It's, will we be watering during the summer? Yeah, it's also an active beaver site, I'm pretty sure it's beaver. I personally pulled out a beaver.
Oh, yeah, I know they have trouble with beavers in. Till next.
Cool.
If I get any more information, I'll share it, if you don't want to be involved in the sticks. Our staff harvested them from another site.
Sounds exciting.
More to come. I think he's planning, a total of 3 planting projects this year, mostly focused on riparian areas. But also the key spot that we'll be telling you about in.
I don't want to get off topic, but we kind of talked about it. Who would be available to scout out other places in the city that we could plant trees?
What other kinds of places?
Well, yeah, I think that was in our meeting minutes from last week. We had talked about, not necessarily for a field trip, but yeah,
Like city staff or a volunteer or a citizen?
having locations to actually plant trees.
Start being away at it.
Well, we have the 3 that the, stormwater folks.
Yeah, but I would like to see a more of a comprehensive list for the citywide.
Second Street, like, several times.
Yeah. I know that, well, if awarded this grant, one of the things that I wanted out of the report, not only is how we can properly maintain the trees that we have now, which we're already struggling to do, and how much more that will cost. Which is, we need to know that because we're gonna suggest that our forester is for a staff person, we need to know what they can do. But also identifying any priority planting areas, especially in those areas that have that higher, environmental health disparity. Try and prioritize it for places that would, benefit for human health to have more trees. We want wildlife too.
Yes, but no, but, you know, we just built this, subsidized housing or something over by Home Depot. And the property immediately east of that now, has been approved to build 5-story apartment building there. Rather than, I mean, I just feel like could be trees, you know, close to this low-income housing. It seems like when we build low-income housing, building it, and we don't increase the margins till we can plant trees. Last night about what I call the old Grange, the property here across from, New Market, Market. Forested area. Gonna clear that, I assume, or is it just the
It's a
Grange
wellhead
building?
protection area. We can't,
What is it?
it's a wellhead protection area. It's
Okay.
important for our drinking water.
So where the old Grange building is now, that's gonna be removed and 24 houses are gonna be built there by Habitat.
You know, one area that has the wellhead.
Well, that was in the Google last night, saying the Tumwater's approved, passing on $778,000 to Habitat to build 24 homes. They're immediately across from, New Market, the Skill Center. So, but it's surrounded by forest at this time, and then UPS is. So, I hope we can develop these properties, retain some of the trees.
I think that's, very key for our work with, 1608, the preservation, tree and vegetation protection ordinance, as well as the landscape code, so that when they are having to landscape these developments, which we do need to have for GMA, affordable housing, that they meet certain requirements, and we're in the process of now is the time to make.
Although, a little worried that because these plans have been approved or are in the process of being approved before we've changed the law, the new laws won't apply to the
Yeah.
current development.
But there will be more coming, I'm sure. Our population growth, there will be more, so it will apply.
Although as far as like the forest, like private land wasn't included. I mean, and there are some requirements. So
there'll be some.
But the canopy thing was an aerial survey, right? That didn't differentiate between private and public, did it?
Yeah, I think they did. I think they separated out the public and private.
Because I think it would have been more if it would have
Okay.
been. Oh,
Yes, I agree, plus also dog owners take their dogs to this empty spot where development hasn't taken over. They also bring them to my neighborhood and countryside, which we have a little area in the middle for kids to play and dogs. I didn't mean to raise my hand in Zoom, if it's not working, I will be there early for the Arbor Day. I think next to countryside in our neighborhood, there are places.
You finish your report?
Oh, yes, I
You
do,
did,
thank you.
all right.
You inspired us.
It's a
Yeah.
discourse, we're all working on this, on the good work.
Okay, so the next, public comment, I don't think anybody's on.
No, we don't have any answers.
Session is Heritage Tree nomination.
Oh, Gina.
1579th Avenue Southeast. Do you want to pull that up too, while you?
I gotta go check this tree out. Impressive.
Beautiful tree.
This is where Tumwater's gonna build their maintenance facilities up
It's
here?
across the street, so the, this side will have a park. Yeah, this side will be a park.
What does that mean?
So they haven't planned it yet, for what the park, so this will be a new operations and maintenance facility. We desperately need more space for our public works. And this part, so we acquired the entire property, this part will be a park. There's no design or renderings for it yet, but, as part of this process, I reached out to Chuck Denny, our director of parks, to get his permission for this tree. Said, yeah, there's no way that tree's ever coming down, we love it, it's part of it, we're gonna.
What's the other tree by?
That's actually, it's virtually a snag. And I'm wondering, I mean, it's what we used to call a forestry, a wildlife habitat tree. Got lots of cavities in it, and it's got owls or whatever. But I'm wondering if wildlife habitat tree like that would qualify as a heritage tree. We're not, it's not there, I mean, it's for the wildlife. It's not for the plants.
What's our definition say?
So the first draft that I saw of 1608, the green vegetation preservation does have specific snags that like allows for snags explicitly, and it has a process for removing snags if needed. It was nice that we had something that called out. Doesn't necessarily like.
Well, I'll go back and take a photograph for the closer look. But it was, you know, our forester went, took a look at it and said, you know, it's been damaged by grading. Roots, but not seriously enough to affect what they perceives to be the longevity of the tree. So it should be fine, but it's obviously very, I mean, it's the Trails End campground, it used to be. And undoubtedly was a grove that for some reason they left a tree, or that maybe there were two, one's now become a. And it's just another example of the prairie habitat that used to be here, where these Gary oaks dominant. Now we have 7.
Is that a Gary Oak? Is that what it is? Okay.
And Gary Oaks have special protections, outside of our own. It's considered a critical habitat, protected at the state level. So there's additional protections that are already upon the tree, specifically just because the oaks are a Gary Oak.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not explicitly mentioned in our code, but, it's referenced, and Jim was asking about it a number of months ago.
And Fish and Wildlife have got several articles about value of the species for habitat and the prevalence of it in our history.
Lakewood has put it in their code, so. Yeah, you have a Gary Oak, like you have to do all sorts of requirements.
Oakville, up on Whidbey Island, has got a whole society that collects the acorns under the tree, grows them in their backyard in pots, then actually goes out and keeps them. Which is a question I had unrelated to this tree. But, the Pioneer Park, has beautiful oak trees that are red oaks. And I thought, why didn't they plant Gary oaks in this? I mean, it's the ideal location, you know, it's got plenty of room and lots of space for big oak trees to thrive. And I thought, well, probably the city can't find where to get Gary oak trees, but is there some way, and I don't know how this process is done, when the city landscapes a park, who decides what trees go there? And is Gary oak on the list?
I don't think there's a formal list.
And we,
Gary oaks are very hard to find,
yeah,
and they're very hard to, train.
And they grow really slow, so most people don't wanna wait 7 years for
And with
it.
the extra protections, it might have to require maintenance.
But the plant space has 200 of them.
We planted a bunch of them out in, Tilly Road.
yeah,
I don't know how they're doing, but they,
We couldn't get anything over like one and a half. They typically would have planted.
I think, you know, maybe they're difficult to find because nobody's buying them, and there's lots of things, but, you know, in a place like this where we're trying to create habitat for the native plants, we want to encourage the native plants, we want to encourage the native animals, we should make an extra effort where, because there are limited places where this tree will grow.
Right.
So where we have those spaces, let's put the tree. So I was just gonna say, if there's some way to advocate for the city, or I know that the city often contracts for the landscaping of public parks and city streets and all of that sort of stuff. I wish that there was some sort of red flag that said, you know, okay, here's an open space, 20 by 20 round, would be an ideal place to have a Gary oak.
Yeah.
Limited places where they can go, let's be sure to put one wherever they will, as possible.
I'll mention it to Stan, who is from our Parks Department, he's the facilities head. He's a woodworker, he loves trees, he comes to our meetings, to give us the updates for
Yeah.
the urban forest.
The annual
management
meeting.
plan. Yep, so I'll mention to him and, the bug in his ear, not literally, Gary oak in his mind.
It's great to know that they're available.
We're planting a grove on the entrance to the Capitol campus. For a new building, even though they won't, I mean, it's for the next, it's for the next generation.
Yeah.
Not for us,
Yeah.
but it's making it, it'll be at the gateway to campus.
Yeah.
For the very reasons you elucidated.
It'll be interesting to see how those do. They're very hard to grow.
Can you tell me again where this,
the Emergency Services
Center on Tilly Road.
yeah, right down here.
Yeah.
How long ago was that when they put that new facility in?
Yeah, what was that? It must have been like 2000. Probably, we also planted.
Yeah, but it's very, it was all leaves and irrigated with rainwater and got a really nice.
Good, I'll just bring by and see how they're doing.
Yeah.
Perfect, thanks, Tanya. Okay, so,
Big water.
So you're nominating three?
Yes.
Okay. Do we need to vote on that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And about a week before you nominated this, I had a staff person that I work with take me out to this specific tree, say, I want to nominate this tree.
Nice.
You might need to wait, depends on.
Well, I'm on 7, I'm working on 7, but one of them's at Walmart, and I guess that we decided the city can approve that one, and you've got that nomination.
Yeah, I think it's the one by the,
The
Yeah,
one by the road? Oh.
No, the two by
so the one by
Panda
Walmart is by
Express,
the road.
yeah, right across from Union Cemetery. But, and that one, you know, whoever built the Walmart parking lot, obviously built around that tree.
I was on the tree board when that project went, and we demanded that, yeah, they work around it.
Yeah, I mean, for years, I mean, it's like the tree at the airport. We built, the community is built around these beautiful trees. Let's keep them, and the same is true with these true trees up at Panda Express. And,
Oh, yeah.
except the property owner is in California and won't return my phone calls.
But,
So,
yeah, I tried as well,
Okay,
no luck.
still trying, so.
Well, we can nominate them, and they'll never know then.
We do need the landowner
I know.
permission.
Yeah, we're doing that still.
So they're not anywhere close to the city easement.
No, Alex in our planning department.
Well, I mean, they did keep them,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
are, they haven't come down.
They're a protected habitat state.
With that, I mean,
Yeah, you can sit on.
So cool.
I vote.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So, we need a motion and a second to forward this nomination to the city council.
okay, I'll make a motion to nominate the tree, heritage tree at 1579th Avenue Southeast.
Second,
Brett seconds.
unless Tanya wants to. Oh, Tanya,
I don't think I can second my own nomination. All in favor unanimously.
Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? She,
I've gotten an email from her in a few minutes.
So we have different categories of heritage trees, so we need to decide what categories fit
So
in.
we don't technically, like, separate it out. Those are the reasons that the qualifiers to make them a heritage tree, but it's not.
One category. So when we develop the park, it'd be nice to have some kind of interpretation about the significance of Gary Oak to the prairie habitat in this region, so learn about it.
The Parks Department is,
well, that's Bob Drool, I
talking
think,
about
is,
Oh, is he designing that part?
yeah, so you can,
I'll tell him.
and I know Parks wants to put an interpretation
Nice.
near it.
And the arborist found, the consulting arborist found it fairly sound. I think I read the report.
Yeah.
Yes,
Maybe some fungal concerns, but
Yeah.
minor for the age of the tree.
Decor, which he wasn't willing to do for other trees.
Right, I noticed that.
Did you?
6-inch cord.
Uh-huh.
I know it's 179 years old.
wow.
That's pretty pretty.
Yeah, give or take 10 years.
Wow, that's
And of
probably,
course, that's just the outer 9 inches, and it's a 48-inch.
Be interesting to think about what was happening 179 years.
Yeah.
well, I mean, Tumwater wasn't even a city then.
Right.
It's a tree older than the town.
Yeah,
Well,
it's not that hard around here.
the Gary Oak there at the airport is in Pioneer records. It was a landmark to get from. Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, next item is the memorandum on tree planting and retention incentive.
It was fun to do. Tanya says on the last one, sorry. The tree of Walmart needs to be nominated too. I thought it was already. I agree with all the heritage trees nominated. Jim has nominated the Walmart tree and the Panda Express tree. The forester is going to look at it. It just takes a little while after a form is submitted for me to get the forester out and get the coming.
And where are the last, that's,
the others are on questionable property. It's east of, Starbucks on Capitol Way.
oh,
By the grant.
There's a little grove of 3 or 4 oak trees that are close to the sidewalks or in a very residential area. And I'm really not, I'll have to approach the individual homeowners to say, you know.
much younger than this one, it sounds like.
Yeah, much smaller. At least 3 trees. But I've got another tree that the Heritage Association approached me on at the Schmidt House. That is a Japanese magnolia. And it's, according to my search, the largest Japanese magnolia in the world. According to website,
Magnolia.
sort of
Indiana.
Solange.
That's a real claim to fame, to be a world champion. Wow. Would verify that. I know there's a national champion. from
There's a
there.
website that lists the largest of each species. Monumental tree website, its website is monumentaltrees.com.
Cool.
The whole world, not just the
Magnolia,
country.
yeah. Magnolia hypholuca,
Oh, different.
Japanese big leaf magnolia.
That's a problem, common names that could be 20 different things.
Right. Picture there. Stuff I've gotten from Karen.
So, there are 2 actions in the urban forestry management plan to, look at non-regulatory programs and incentives, for tree retention, tree planting, both on public properties and private properties. So, this was part of the work plan that I presented to you all in November. There is the memo exploring that. I looked at, programs mostly in the Pacific Northwest, but there are some examples from outside of the Cascadia bioregion. In terms of, public property, Tacoma has, the Grit City program that offers free street trees and supporting supplies with the intention that they be planted in the city right of way. Applications are online. 59% of trees go to areas of the city with greatest need, according to the City of Tacoma Equity Index map. So they're trying to improve the tree canopy areas that are lower socioeconomic status. With the trees, they're also given tree stakes, ties, compost, and watering supplies for the dry months. So a lot of things that these can have the tree survive. There's a whole application process. I'll try to not go through all of these in great length because we would be here for a little while. They also have a neighborhood scale grant where if multiple neighborhoods apply together, they can have more of that and it can be delivered. But if one person applies grant, they can get those same supplies, but they have to transport them themselves. City of Vancouver has a street tree refund program. The value of the refund is 50% the cost of the tree, up to $50. There's an application process. You apply for the street tree work permit. City staff looks to make sure that you can actually put a tree and have some recommendations for the appropriate tree for the available space. You go to a nursery, you send the receipt to the department, and they send you a check. They also partner with a nonprofit, Friends of Trees, for volunteer planting events, and they provide tools and stuff. City of Seattle, this is a dream program that cities as large as Seattle can get away with. It's been in place, y'all are probably familiar with it. It's been in place for decades. It's a collaboration between the city, community groups, nonprofits, businesses, schools, and thousands of volunteers. They work on restoration as well as planting, and they do a lot of employment of people for this program as well, so it's not just volunteers. Non-Pacific Northwest cities, in terms of goals for not on someone's property in public, for the purposes of public property, there's a lot of aspirational goals led by mayors of big cities that have X number of trees within this many years. None of them that I saw actually had any sort of reporting on their success of those initiatives, so it seems like an aspirational goal, and hopefully they're getting close to it, but I can't tell. There's a lot of those. Then there's more examples for private property. So similar to how we give away trees at Arbor Day, there's a lot of different ways of doing this, and other additional things that are given in addition to the tree. Any questions on the public property right away, street tree stuff yet? City of Kirkland has 2 programs, a rebate and a certificate. They both are run by the city's storm and surface water division. They both have rolling applications. You can get up to $500 per property, up to twice per property, but if it sells, then you can kind of get added as a third person on the property and still use the.
Is that what the term, what's is lifetime maximum?
Yeah.
Lifetime of,
So if you have 2 different owners of a property within the lifetime of the program, essentially, foreseeable future of the program, they didn't really define it.
Lifetime of the person, or lifetime of the tree, or lifetime?
think it's of the program. You get the trees, or the cost of the trees, which you can either get by going to a nursery within this particular nursery network, or you go get it. They have a different program for kind of, if you don't have the available cash that you want to have trees, there's a method for that. If you do have the available cash and you want to go get it and get a rebate, there's a method for that too. You also get 2 to 3 bags of compost and mulch per tree and watering bags. Have to, it be pre-approved. The certificate is the no out-of-pocket option. The rebate is the out-of-pocket option. The website for this program has tree planting PDF and tree care guide. They do not provide additional rebates for trees that don't survive. They cannot be used, the rebates or certificates cannot be used to remove or replace existing trees. It has to be a new additional tree. They all must be planted within the city of Kirkland, and they have all sorts of spacing requirements, there were 2 cities that had spacing requirements that were really long, and they had different numbers. Linwood has a certificate program, also valued up to $500. City residents can apply for this program once per year, so not a lifetime thing. They can get $500 worth of trees every year. They're only working with the WFNLA nurseries. There are no specific tree species. Some of the cities had, you can only plant this list of trees. This is a wide variety, like whatever tree. There's a process. You confirm your eligibility. You go to the nursery, do an application, city reviews it, approves it, and you go get the tree. There is no education component to this program. I tried to report the same information. I made an Excel spreadsheet that described all of them, but I did not show here because it was really messy and you all shouldn't see that, but helped me make sense of it. So there were some that had really elaborate education programs or requirements that you show that you've done education prior to being trusted with the tree.
Yeah, I saw that one required you to take a test.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, there was an online course and a test, and you had to show that you did it. It was like a video and a Google form, essentially. Not real hefty, but
Yeah.
still good. City of Portland has a tree bait program, run by a stormwater utility. The program is open for a particular time of year. $10 for edible fruit trees, 20 for small trees, 30 for medium trees, and 40 for large trees. This is basically not a refund, but it subtracts your utility bill minus this rebate, and then your utility bill is the difference for that month. You can't be on the city's nuisance tree list. It must be 4 feet tall. It's only for single-family homes and duplexes. They won't do it for apartments. All of these programs generally had you can do it as a tenant if you have landlord approval, but not if you're an apartment here. Again, new trees only, can't be used to replace existing trees, and it's that credit on your bill. There was no education component with this program, but Portland's urban forest program is. Any questions so far? And if you all don't want me to go through each one of these one by one, if you read it already, I can.
Read it over to you.
You don't have.
Okay, cool.
A good job researching.
It was fun to do that.
This is a wealth of information.
You don't have to discuss if there's one that you want to replicate, if there's elements of ones that you want to incorporate for future ones. It's not a requirement, you don't have to come up with a motion or anything, but I just wanted to put thought in your mind that if there's anything that you saw in these that you think would be worth replicating, we can start.
But what stood out for you?
Yeah, you've done all the research and you're familiar with the issues. What would you suggest?
There's a desire to connect stormwater with our urban forestry work. So any of the ones that were funded by stormwater, I like the tree bait program because it helps people understand how effective trees, especially larger mature trees, can be for stormwater, for holding water. But any of them the things that I really like for future years for us, I would like us to try to have a strategic look at those parts of the city that have lower canopy, or try to target to the people that could use trees, and to provide supportive things like tree watering bags and compost and mulch, and maybe to keep track of those trees. A lot of these had, I know I've seen in the minutes from the Arbor Days in the past that we encourage people to send us pictures, but if we collect their addresses and we get the okay to go to their property, I can check out those trees and make sure that they're surviving year after year, without having to depend on others, and to show the viability of the program. especially if we're giving them additional resources to support it, or if we're giving them, if we're tying it to their utility bill, we want those to survive, we want them to not get cut. So the education, the supportive materials, and the follow-up, the things that I covered, right, as well as the trying to focus at least some of the resources into lower tree canopy areas.
I like what you're suggesting. I have some additional thoughts. I like the idea of the city approving the location of the species, just because that avoids headache 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now, when the wrong tree is planted in the wrong spot. So, you know, and the property owner may have no idea about underground utilities or, you know, what's happening there, and so just to let them stick it wherever they want to makes me nervous, and let them pick whatever tree they want to makes me. So I think that component where somebody says, yeah, I'm really interested, and they meet with a person who says, what do you have in mind? I mean, I used to do this in the city where I used to work. We'd go out and meet with property owners who'd lost a tree to Dutch elm disease and say, you know, here are some options, what are you interested in, and where would you want it? I also, though, like the investment of the person planting the tree themselves, as well as putting some money into it, so that it isn't just, oh, here's a free government whatever, and it doesn't cost me a dime, and if I run over it with my truck next week, it hasn't cost me a thing. So I like the financial investment by the person, that it isn't a total gift, as well as some sweat equity, where they dig the hole and hopefully do it right. And I like the idea, I really like the idea of saying, okay, we're gonna ask you, we'd like you to take a picture of your family when you plant the tree next to it, as well as a year later.
I don't know that I would have the capacity to go visit every person that wants to tree, nor do I have that expertise, so I'm not sure who would serve that role.
Yeah.
If it would be the contract forester at $125 an hour, or if it's when we do have an urban forester and the program is just here.
Well, we do have a pretty comprehensive tree list.
Sure.
Maybe when they apply, they can show where it's going. Some of those are very valid, but yeah, I think we had asked for a tree of that.
Yeah, and that's why I'm also interested in the magnitude of programs.
We would only be able to do, the funding would likely come out of the tree fund, unless we do make that nexus with stormwater and there is a bit more money available, that which there is an interest in doing.
I'm a little curious as to how this works. Everybody seems to talk about equity in terms of, you know, middle-income rich people are gonna say, yeah, I'd like to have another tree. Are the lower-income people gonna be interested in doing this?
We need to reduce barriers, and probably do,
That's where that one program that does you can buy it, or you can apply and get a grant.
they're both equally cumbersome. Much harder for one than the other, just same number of steps, but
But I like, you know, the public program too, where you're saying, you know, we're gonna come up with some funds and the city is gonna decide to plant these trees in the areas that are less equity in terms of.
then, if it's a street tree, we have interesting fuzzy area of the trees that we maintain versus the ones that we don't, and putting an undue burden on someone because they're, of a lower socioeconomic status, they don't have as many trees, because the community has been historically disinvested in, and now we put something there and we require them to maintain it to a certain level, which is a not very cheap thing. It's just a thing to navigate, that there's no clear cut, exactly this works for everything. We've had some discussions in the street tree plan meetings about, potentially having a waiver process that's tied to if you're lower or moderate income. You figure out a different way for maintaining the trees, but if the city is planting it, we're not planting it on private property. We're not allowed to enter that, so it would be street trees, and then it would be, okay, now more trees that the city maintains, which we have a hard time doing already. Something to figure out.
Yeah, and can we do something like this apartment complex for low-income people? Increase the density of trees in the parking lot, make sure that there's runoff or irrigation you can't keep up forever. But that there's some requirement for the property owner, to maintain those trees.
With those, properties, there is a bond for them to make years.
So the next step, I would propose that you package this all into a proposal that you think might work best for someone. Enough for reaction.
And I'm assuming that this is just one element of the tree promotion the tree board or the city has. Incentives is one thing. Another, of course, is the landscape requirements and all of that sort of
The
stuff.
actions were specifically for non-regulatory programs.
And the other is, you're talking about these volunteer tree planting events, as well as Arbor Day, all of these things are part of the ways we want to. I was struck the other day, by our wording in the urban forest management plan that was referred to in the, something that said, our goal in the urban forest is restore and enhance urban forest. Those are big words. It suggests to me, okay, we've got an urban forest, obviously. And restore and enhance means more than what we got now. And I don't know what restore means. Restore to me means make it like it used to be. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna make Capitol Boulevard look like it did 100 years ago. But I think, yeah, we're looking at a package, and then when I, read this thing about carbon sequestration, I think, yeah, we gotta plant trees every place we can, every crack in the sidewalk, practically. So, how do we have a multifaceted urban forest program for retaining and enhancing urban forest?
So one of the actions that, I was trying to get at, with the memo was retaining, and there, the only example that I really had, which isn't one that I think the city can afford, was the city of, it was in Oregon,
Well, Tigers.
Tigers, where this was, this and the state of Hawaii were the only examples that I really had for retaining the trees on private property. And this was, for heritage trees, but, beyond what the city currently does for heritage trees, where a person who nominates the tree, property owner, can request an annual, assessment of the tree by the city's contracted tree professional. The city takes on every bit of responsibility for maintaining, in perpetuity.
It's a pretty affluent area too.
Might be why that's the way it's set up. And then, state of Hawaii, had, which we don't have state income tax, they have a state income tax credit if you have a nominated, like a heritage tree or an exceptional tree on your property. You can write off the cost of keeping it alive, but not applicable. So those are the only two examples that I could find. It's also the payment for ecosystem services, but that's all on a, like a national scale. I have not seen that done on a local scale. Costa Rica was the first, and it's spread throughout many different countries now. And it's normally in the global south, where it's a lot more, benefit for a smaller amount of money. But they have been shown to be very effective in serving spaces. But we do have these federal ones. These were the ones that are still around, but also, again, on a nation state scale.
Well, and maybe like during our Arbor Day celebration, we had something in place for, people could apply at that point, if they wanted. Yeah.
The program we did, in Hollywood Beach, Florida, where I worked before, we did an annual tree giveaway. And we were very much more stingy about it, I'll say. One, it was mostly fruit trees, and then we moved it to salt tolerant, native trees, after we got our sea level rise vulnerability assessment. So that the trees would survive.
Yeah.
But we had a list of basically who had had them in years past, and they had to attend an educational event at our Earth Day, and get like a little pass, and then, if they had gotten a tree in the past, I think it was 2 years, and they couldn't get it. Making sure that they were residents, they verified address, they had to do education and often. But that felt, now, in retrospect, feels more stingy than, helpful. We want people to plant trees. Yes, we probably want them to be residents, since it's the city's taxpayer dollars or the developer dollars from taking down trees that are paying for it. But to keep a record, is there a record? Have we kept a record of who's been receiving them in years past? That might be
I mean, I
a
wonder if we
step.
could ask for like an address, flat an address.
A sign-in sheet that I can even maybe make work this year, and I have the address where they're going to be.
Who has to approve this program?
If it's using city funds up to a certain amount, it probably would be good. I don't know if it would be required, because we're probably not gonna be spending more than $2,000 a year. It doesn't need to go to council, but I'm sure that they would like it.
Good exposure, yeah.
Question I have is the cost of a tree barrier, people planting trees?
Yeah, I mean, depends on where you buy your tree, you could spend a couple $100.
Where you're planting your tree, if there's a caliber requirement, and you have to get a really big tree.
But, you know, when I walk through Home Depot and I see their trees, you know, for sale for dollars, I don't perceive that, oh, I won't plant it because for $40.
I'm sure there are people that are, like, I could fill up my car, or I could buy a tree up front of them.
Or buy other stuff.
The hierarchy of needs, tree is probably pretty.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious as to who are the people that are taking advantage of really issue buy one tree and put it.
It could be a financial barrier, it could also be, I didn't think about it, but it's offered to me for free, and now I'm more apt to participate. It's, you know, my community is doing, yeah, I'm at an event, I can understand how to do it.
Well, and
It
that's
could be
where,
financial or just an obstacle of the mind.
yeah, that's where I wonder if we make planting trees a common event that people do, rather than, you know, it's, I remember a friend at church that died, and his widow planted a tree at the church to commemorate her husband. Or, you know, that graduation or birthdays or of the birth of somebody. We make tree planting or cultural, Johnny Appleseed. Arbor Day is an attempt to do that, I know. I wonder if giving free trees away is the best way to motivate people to put a tree in the ground.
Well, I mean, when we did our survey, people were asked, "Are has enough trees?" And a lot of them said no. Then the next question was, do you think you need more trees on your property? So there's
Not my backyard.
right, there's a perception that there's not enough trees, but yeah, I don't know.
So who pays for the trees at this Habitat project? Does that have to come out of Habitat funds, or is there a way we could,
These were scavenged.
what's that?
These were scavenged. These are salvaged and scavenged, for the Habitat project at Palermo. Yep, those were willows in another stormwater feature that, they cut and made willow stakes.
So what if they want to do a regular landscape tree? Could we leverage that somehow with these funds, they're again for equity
So,
balancing?
yes, so,
Kind of killing three birds with one stone.
the funding, the tree fund right now is being earmarked for those restoration projects, which is to plant more trees in the places that aren't in people's yards in particular. But also it's, kind of another bird with the same stone, meeting our NPDES requirements, so our, national water system is the water permit.
But they could be street trees, right? I assume they're street trees
They could
required
be
for
street trees.
Habitat.
But for meeting the NPDES, we have temperature, we need to lower the temperature of our streets. So the only way to really do that is through, so we're trying to meet our permit requirements by planting these trees that provide habitat and other ecosystem service benefits, but not necessarily, on a street for someone to walk under, but still beneficial, so a little bit more indirect. It's,
It'd be really interesting to try and get some feedback from the target audience. We always make these decisions for people, and a lot of times it fails. Most of the time it fails because we haven't done the market research.
could, work with our communications team to, they're not normally too fond of doing too many surveys so that we
I
don't get survey exhaustion, but I can talk to them about some ways to engage the general public about, in a program or, what are obstacles. I don't always know what the obstacles are though.
How would you, you have like a list of all the, I mean, how would you reach people? I mean, I think that's the,
Yeah.
kind of the barrier, right? I mean, we don't really have as our list of emails that is associated with maybe water bills and things.
We can do a mailer. That costs money, but we could do it. And then hope that we get a response. We could try to do a bill insert. That's only going to reach people who have a water bill, so probably not tenants.
I mean, I have a hard time. I'm paying online.
It's hard to reach people and,
Right.
now in this era,
But I think there's been some research done. I mean, I read an article in Detroit where the city planted all these street trees in a lighted area, whatever the proper word is, and then failed miserably
Yes.
because the people didn't have to buy.
there was a project in Lake Forest near where I work.
So I think
where
there
we
could be
did
some
all the
research, that's not for Tumwater specifically, but in general,
Mhm.
from other communities that might be able to leverage, at least narrow down or leverage the chances for success based on other communities.
I have a dream of doing a street tree, sort of that I really want to do, where we built out a street tree infrastructure in an area that didn't have very much. And we had a vocational training program where we, paid members of that community to learn how to trim trees, to
Yeah,
the
there
point
you
where they
go.
actually
Put
got
money
their
back in
arborist
the community.
certificate, so that we not only increased, and they used our street tree areas as where they were doing their testing and their, experiential learning, so that we were getting the trees trimmed, but also, adding more, diverse members of the community to the arboriculturist field and getting them their certification and paying them a living wage while they were doing that. Like a big dream of mine to do that somewhere,
A more holistic approach is probably gonna have better results.
because with all of the sustainability related stuff, we need to have a workforce, and it would be most ideal if that workforce was diverse. Have the number of skilled workers and whatever support the city can legally do to help support
Okay,
that.
now maybe we spend our money that way. So is that the next step you're trying to look for, you're trying to develop a program for someone?
I was,
That can be funded and launched?
I was trying to complete actions on the plan, which was to look at this, so if that result in us developing or changing our procedure or our, way of giving away plants, happy with that.
I'm always excited about piloting and experimenting, and there's really no failure. I mean, if it doesn't work, you learn a lot, right? You do something different next time.
What about, as far as like doing the arborist thing, could you partner with, school district and Grub, and maybe there's those kids that are going through high school and they may not go to college, but arborist might be something.
What's the gardening program in Tumwater called? I forgot the name
We
of
have
it.
Tumwater Fresh.
Fresh, they're already interested in plants.
Florida had been looking at the, agency, they had a commercial, land program, and it was kind of dovetailed with them so that they could, provide the training at no cost to the city. But, most have to say infrastructure, there are already people that are, you don't have to achieve my dreams. The dream
We
is
can
there
start it.
within the
Yeah.
mouth.
Well, in support of something like that, I was thinking, my dream is every school, every public school in Tumwater plants one tree a year on their property. And maybe it's the fourth grade class in elementary school, and maybe it's the eighth grade or sixth class in the junior, whatever. But, you know, that's just tradition that every school in Tumwater does once a year.
Tell you from experience with working with the Tumwater School District, that they would not want. They do, yeah, because the trees are so, like, at the minimum amount of trees.
I don't want to manage the leaves.
Right. Yeah, it's all about cleanup. I think that would be great, but I think we would probably get.
A food forest of fruit trees, fruit nut trees. Don't know where, I keep hearing about it, but I haven't.
Tumwater. There's trying to do one in Lacey as well, but I forgot about the crowd.
Please don't generally like to plant fruit trees. Fruit falling on people's heads and liability issues, rats and stuff.
Else doing it. They have a little more money to get things jump started.
A few more maintenance workers.
It seems like we do have property.
Maybe you could get schools to plant a tree on city property
There you
I
every year.
look forward to that inventory, identifying the potential planting areas and the cost for me. I want to plant trees. I want to plant trees that we will maintain.
So what do you need from us to get this started?
You all want me to continue diving into this, and, you suggested packaging a proposal of what would work best for Tumwater. I can work with other staff and get their feedback. I can reach out to, way that we could feasibly reach out to the general public and see what would be preferred, if that might even be a focus group. I'm not sure. I can keep working on it. I'll bring it back to you all when I'm ready.
Well, and I know there's like major issues, or not issues, but there's like lots of street trees that have died or gotten run over that need to be.
Would you want to prioritize that over a public program?
Well, I think they'd all be, it'd be nice to improve it all, and then I think it would probably take a while for people to realize that there was other something.
You know, you were talking about surveys and stuff, and I wonder if there's some way to develop a tree steward program where you ask volunteers in homeowners or schools or apartment complexes if there be anyone in that who would volunteer to be the tree steward for their property or their homeowners association or their school. And, that person wouldn't have any authority, but they would be
An advocate.
an advocate and a communication thing. And maybe it's the tree board, they would send I mean, if we needed information, this is the list we send it to. Of people who are interested and willing to fill out a survey. We say, do you need a tree in your neighborhood? Send it out to the tree stewards and see what they say.
We have an Adopt a Road program, we have, a couple of different, volunteer programs. Specifically, I'm talking to Parks about maybe trying to have one for waste diversion, for compost and recycling at events. We're having a hard time recruiting volunteers for that, but, I did run into this today, the Portland Pruners Program, which is volunteers throughout the community that go and prune the younger, street trees.
Oh, that's very focused.
Yes, and they also have, neighborhood efforts where, neighborhoods together will take care of their own. One of the examples in the memo was for Vancouver, British Columbia, where they had that whole, neighborhood cool kit where they did the full assessment of their area, and then they kind of had actions that they decided that they were going to take, which included helping to water trees on their street during the summer. Personally, like taking some level of ownership and care over the trees that were. There's example, these, they're trained by the cities, they have an urban forestry program. Neighborhood tree teams, a neighborhood tree steward program, and you graduate from that.
Yeah. I think kind of all that stuff together, I think would be great.
Like the idea of small and focused pilot, rather than work towards something more large and global.
Well, that's where I was thinking about some of these new developments of IU, or this development across the freeway, from here, where they're gonna put in 1,100 apartments. What if we asked, as people are moving in, is there one or two or three people who would like to be a tree steward?
Like that neighbor.
I'll keep working on it, and I
Okay.
will, bring more to you all at, my own pace, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't think we're doing it for this Arbor Day.
Right.
Have the goal of maybe adding something special in for it.
Maybe, maybe we could, if you have a chance, maybe we could have a, short survey that somebody could barcode and they take it with their phone.
Oh, at Arbor Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe just like 3 or 4 questions, that's quick. And they could submit that to.
Or then they can do it before they get their free treat. Or they want multiple trees. So there's always people, there's always 1 or 2 people who want 10 trees. Fine.
The next item on the agenda is, okay, was the, I think it was the
Story
Heritage
map?
Tree story map. So you all asked for, so we're getting a new website eventually, so it's not the most beautiful on our current website. You all had asked for an interactive online map for the
Nice.
Heritage Tree, so we did that. So this is the, existing Heritage Tree site, so it's kind of embedded here, but you can view the larger map and it looks much better. Their way of doing story maps on the city's website. So the same content that was on the website before, which is pulled straight from the code, about what heritage trees are, what kind of categories they are. The online form, we improved the form. Every time one of the nominations came through, the pictures never attached, and we had to do this whole back of house search for the pictures. Normally delayed me getting the nominations by a day or two. Not terrible, but, now there's a new form using our survey 123, same nomination, but different, route that hopefully gets it easier. It'll also come directly to me. instead of to like Webmaster for them to. But the cool thing is this part, the attachment viewer. So, and thank you to Jim for taking all of the pictures.
Oh, way to go.
How
many do we have just off the top?
Something like 15, I think.
15?
So, we broke it, this is based off of Portland. I'm not a big fan of Portland's urban forestry program. This was their sample, they broke it by neighborhood, so I figured that was helpful for us too. Each one, you can click on the tree, and it'll tell you.
So did you have to enter GPS coordinates?
We have those already.
Oh, you have them already?
Yeah, so we have a picture, we can add another picture when it's in leaf. I think up to 3 pictures is what GIS says we have the space for, so not
Right.
one for every season, but.
Summer, fall, and
Yeah,
winter.
flower, leaf, fall, winter, fall color, maybe.
Each one has, the common name, the species name, some comments about it. That's limited in space. I can't really do much more than that. There's a
Can I
250 character.
italicize or underline the tag name?
It's driving me nuts too. I'm gonna work on
Thank you.
it.
I wish we had more room for comments,
Me too.
particularly, both historical, if there is any, and usually there isn't. For example, the example you have right here, this Davis Gary Oak, named after a guy.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. Been here around quite a while, but, that's neat. But I'd also like to see the environmental component, why this tree is of value, like the Gary Oak.
Not all of them do have the environmental,
Exactly.
but you can.
You're right. But, yeah, I mean, there may be, I hope, there are many reasons why this is a noteworthy plant, that we could put there. And
Oh,
make
there's
it-
not room for that stuff now, or we just, there's not room for that?
It's limited to 200.
Oh, whoa, that's not much.
No, so we could add another, field here and say something special about its environmental qualities.
And, for example, BBH, I don't know that that's important for Joe. Listen, a height, yeah, is it a big tree or a little tree? But I'm thinking, of the homeowner or the student or something who doesn't know the Gary Oak from a Douglas fir, but they're kind of interested, they've got this type. The same thing, I've been surprised, I mean, the city has these, neighborhood things, which we have in the urban forest management plan. I don't know, I didn't recognize any of those names. They mean nothing to me as a 40-year resident of this town.
You can remove the neighborhoods if they're not.
Well, I don't think they're of value to most people if it fills up the data field and you can put something else.
It doesn't take up space that could be used by the script.
But I mean, if I'm looking at that map, I'm more interested in seeing where the roads are that I might recognize than the neighborhood names.
So the base map on the bottom was specifically chosen by our communications team. It is not like.
But I need landmarks if I'm, really interested in locating, and
That
those
connected to
neighborhood
Google
names
Maps.
are not landmarks to me.
It's GIS, geographic. Esri, the proprietary thing that the city uses for basically all of our mapping. We have 2 full-time staff people designated filling these needs.
Looking at that map, I see Capitol Way, and that's about all. I'd like to see Prosper Road.
There had to be, I think
Israel
I
Road.
got it,
Here's
maybe.
Prosper.
Yeah,
Prosper Road,
Yeah.
Lakewood Avenue.
yeah.
It is labeled. as
Second
zip code,
Avenue,
right?
yeah, the major streets, that's what I'm looking for when I look at those green squares, and I say, okay, where is that? More
Maybe you
helpful
could
than
put
that.
like schools or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 'cause everybody knows the
Public
school.
schools. That's a more valuable
Just
landmark.
just a few more landmarks so that if you're, probably not a bad idea. Of course, on there, Pioneer Park, you put parks,
When I went to the website,
I know, it's just not labeled.
It's just small.
the Tumwater Heritage Tree stuff is huge. big font, takes a full page and a half, I print it out, and the heritage tree information is,
Story maps aren't meant to be printed. We had the printed static map, and we still have that, but you all had asked for a digital map, which doesn't necessarily equal good at printing.
so, yeah, if my 8-year-old, wants to go visit this tree, and I say, oh, let's print out the map and drive there. Really can't do that very well, right?
We can have a static map attached for that purpose, as a link on the page.
Did you have the, northern and easting of that? That would take you to, that you could maybe,
Click on it and send you to Google,
That's what I was
or?
wondering, yeah, if you could connect it to the Google map.
I mean, even if you just have the northern and easting, you can copy and paste some sort of writing.
Or connected to Google Map or at Compass Rose. Some of the trees, I'll say, most of the ones that were designated on May 15, 2011, or 2001, have like down data. If you all have the story for any of these, that would be great. We don't have height, we don't have DBH, we don't have age. I wrote that because they were all kind of a lump sum with not a lot of information. The records are so old, they've been destroyed. I had nothing.
Well, I'm working with the Heritage Society or Association, trying to gather a bunch of that information. But that, I mean, I'm wondering if you've, what do they call it, customer tested this?
This is the first time anyone's seen it.
Oh, we're
Unless
gonna
they
get
went
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beta test, okay. Yeah, you take somebody off the street and say, if I told you that we had heritage trees in Tumwater, what would you be interested in knowing about it? And is this map helpful? Does this name mean anything to you? I'm just kind of curious how our users are gonna find this.
Well, it leaps ahead from what we had, but yeah, I think it
Yes.
could be fine too.
Well, of course, what he's got for the capital campus is great. I love, what you've done for the,
Yeah, I did it all myself.
well, what your organization.
What I asked them to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a beautiful, it's got like, a full page or two for every tree, as well as a map where you can walk around the campus and see them in order and the numbers and all sorts. What I'd like to see us do someday. And you probably don't have the historical significance, they don't have much, unless some
Many
special
of them
person
do.
planted them.
But do we include it?
Yeah.
Well, we're getting close to the time.
Yeah.
We've only got like 15 minutes left. Did we have much to say on October Day? Is that available online now? Can
Yes.
somebody
Yes.
go on there? Okay.
Yes.
It's live now, and I have notes on some things that you all want to see changed.
So we could like go on there and walk through it too.
Yeah,
But thanks for getting it started.
yeah, that's great.
It's, based on the same style, because we only have so many styles that we're, work with, yeah. The same style for the hangers.
Oh, neat.
It's the same historical thought they were thinking. Style doesn't. It's the handout. And I will change red cedar now that I know from you all that it's not one word. I think the book that I read said that it wasn't a true cedar, so that's why they put red cedar together, but I don't.
There's a lot of variation.
Cedrus,
And that's why Douglas fir always has the dash between the Douglas and the fir.
that's the old way to do it.
My dog was
yeah.
dying when I was reading it, so I could just like not
Oh.
remember the same thing. It's a few months ago, but still.
Well, and like I said, it's a common name, so
Yeah.
that's kind of,
I really like the way these have been done. I know I've done them a couple of years in the past. The vine
Yeah,
maple,
the
the
different
crab
seasons,
apple.
and both
Yeah,
that far away.
Good pictures and lots of visual image.
Nice word, cedar, I didn't know I
And
was gonna get a.
Again,
shrub.
I think the height and the width is critical. People wanna know how big is this thing gonna get. My assumption,
More by-
based on the vine maple growing in my yard, and most you know, when you buy a tree, at a nursery, it gives you the height and the width. And pretty sure that's in 10 years.
You know the cultivar by chance of the dwarf cedar?
Yeah, I don't think that's a very good representation of what I think of when I think of red cedar.
That's the one, so.
Well, this is the mock version, it's only 4 feet by 4 feet. It's a shrub.
Okay. It may be a globe or a, yeah, well, I think we need to have a variety name in there, because somebody sees three, look
I
out
mean,
and looks at that
the
picture.
good thing is it fits in a small space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But it's not what I thought I was getting.
Especially when they say
When I asked
native,
for a dwarf
native
western
red
red
cedar,
cedar,
that's not a,
one, so I reached out to two different, nurseries. One that you had suggested, you just found, yeah, so they were more expensive than our, place here, but they were the one who, said what variety that was. I have an email and I can send to you all, but I just,
I was a little confused by the butterflies, the first
Which
picture
one?
too.
I added that just so that, I thought you would like it actually because of the
When I
habitat
read the
value.
information, I thought, oh, that's why there's a butterfly.
I added, more wildlife value to each of the,
Sure.
sections.
But it's a little confusing when that's the first picture, and it doesn't look like any western red cedar flower that I've ever seen, that the butterfly is sitting on.
And we'll move the butterfly, cedar hair streak butterfly down. Variety name.
And the seed thing, that's incredible. Having the third page.
Oh, yeah. That's
Arbor Day
awesome.
seeds, that's really great. My experience with growing seeds, which is fun, I just wonder how people are gonna plant these.
Or,
Are we providing like a seed packet or?
so for the native pollinator mix and the Northwest Prairie mix, those are seed packets that I already had. I bought bulk seed and seed packets. We had special stickers made by our communications department. That city of Tumwater, this thing on it. Gave them out at Fall Fest in October. I have a lot left.
Oh, okay.
So, I bought 50 showy milkweed seeds, which came from Territorial. I figured since I had the mixes for the other ones, I would get just the showy milkweed seeds as well. And I printed out, 50 handouts about providing water for butterflies that I plan on stapling, so for puddling stations and other ways to support monarchs, so have the food and items. But they have instructions on how to plant.
They do, on the seed packet.
Yep, Northwest Prairie and Pollinator, it's fall or spring, free area, rake it in, water it a little bit, and then, they're not very old, so they should still, I think it's another local company out of,
Is there a square footage that the seed packet is supposed to cover?
I bought 1,000 square feet worth and put them in teaspoon by teaspoon into
Yeah.
a little thing and close them up.
I'm curious to see how it takes seeds.
I'll say for, the native pollinator mix specifically, at all the events that I've given them out at, people want that. They want flower seeds.
Oh, it's a hot topic there.
Yeah, I gave them the option, we had Eco-Lawn seeds, the Northwest Prairie mix, and the pollinator mix, and I would say 75% of people wanted the pollinator mix, like 20% wanted the Eco-Lawn because they didn't want to have a lawn, and they were interested in that, and then the prairie was left.
Huh, at least values,
Yeah.
interesting.
So in terms of the flyer, or the handout, red cedar, 2 words, add the variety, butterfly not first picture. Any other changes to this that you want me to make prior to?
I think you said one of the handouts that will be available is on how to plant a tree.
Yes. It's, like
DNRs.
Arbor Day Foundation.
I think that there could be some issues with some of our native plant people, but maybe we already had this conversation about the dwarf west red cedar. I think that we should consider saying this, the wild or the trees version is native. So anytime you put a cultivar in there, it's not really a native anymore.
It would be an adaptive, you could just call it an adaptive.
I'm just trying to be proactive, because I just know there's,
Native Plant Society told me nativars. They're native
Cultivars?
plants that have been selected, they're, yeah,
and hybridized.
right.
I
They
think
call
it's
them
the
nativars.
I think it's whiplash is the variety.
Oh, that makes sense, I've heard that one, yeah. Cultivar.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right, they're varieties and they're cultivars,
Varieties occur in the wild, reproduce naturally in the wild.
Which is
Cultivars
like
have
a
to be
native
managed by people.
right, which I think is.
Oh, the native bar.
Nativar. is
Oh,
really
yeah,
a
well, all
cultivar.
this new lingo.
Make those changes.
You've got,
But it's cool that we have a evergreen that will fit in a small space.
yeah,
Have we given large evergreens away in the past?
Yeah.
We used to give away the giants, the Doug fir and
Yeah.
Western, yeah.
and the Saskatoon serviceberry, the native is capitalized, the other three are not.
Oh, thank you.
So I assume that rather than giving them half a page, I mean, if they take a dwarf western red cedar, we give them the dwarf western cedar handout. Instead, we're just gonna print this, and whoever takes a plant gets the whole, gets
Up to you all.
the 4 plants.
I can print them and cut them and have them, or we can give
Yeah,
them all
because
of them.
it looks like you've got the seed mix on 3, that you could fold in 3 and cut. The other ones, yeah, you could, or if it sits on 8.5 by 11, you can fold it.
Or it could be an educational piece and get excited about other natives.
But, and are the seedlings that we're gonna give away labeled?
They probably won't be.
Well, they're not labeled, oh, well, they're not seedlings,
These are
right?
tagged.
We've
The
got,
1 gallon and 2
I
gallons.
mean, if they get home and they don't remember what tree they got.
I thought we labeled
Maybe
them
the
last
piece
year, we
of
made our own
paper
labels.
helps.
We, Brad, I think, and you all labeled them.
Yeah.
So,
maybe we could get some, yeah, popsicle sticks, I was thinking like, whatever they.
Tongue
Compressors.
Tongue depressors, there it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we could get like some sticks, and then if it's not labeled, we could write it on there. Not a bad idea, yeah, that's easy. If you wanna bring those, yeah.
Sharpie.
Yeah.
I can provide. How many we need? Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't necessarily need 100, but you could bring it.
Yeah.
It says Ethiopia. Instead of E.
Oh. Someone said to me that if you get the wrong variety of milkweed, it will bloom at the wrong time for your native.
I am
Monarch.
very, very specific.
So I assume because this is coming from territorial, that it's the right variety of milkweed for our monarchs.
is it a cultivar?
I don't know, I mean, when I looked it up, it was more of an Eastern Washington plant, so I don't know.
That's the
Yeah.
right species.
And fun fact, they grew this in Florida, in addition to the tropical milkweed and the swamp milkweed. All 3 of these are my first. So they grow in the tropics. I was surprised to see this was one.
My wife reminds me that she asked somebody and they said, once you get this growing in your yard, it won't go away. It's hard to kill.
Well, we should probably mention that, just in case.
That'd be a good problem to have, I can't get my milkweed started. I'd be really happy.
Once you do, though,
I can see self-feeding.
Toxic to almost everything, I love it,
Yeah.
except for monitors.
He's up to. I'll make those changes.
Yeah, these look really nice.
They're based off of, y'all's last year. I just put them in PowerPoint instead of Word.
So they're an improvement over what I did.
So you're taking pictures and it's.
Great.
This is fun for me. Thanks for the excuse.
good way to get familiar with. Okay,
That was, I think, the end.
all right. Our next meeting is
April
Tuesday.
11th.
We're having a meeting in Arbor Day.
The codes are very demanding, the joint meeting.
Okay. Well,
Oh, that's a Tuesday meeting?
Next Tuesday, yeah. Our next Tuesday meeting, our next Monday meeting together is in May, and that's when it's.
I won't be here in April, that starts meeting on Tuesday.
Right. All right,
But we'll have two